You can drop in the chat. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to those who were here yesterday, and welcome to those who are able to join us this morning. We are so excited to have you all. It's nice to see your pictures and your names and some of your faces. My name is Shannon Sayula. I am one of the many coordinators and staff here at UCLA CCCP, and it's my honor and pleasure to welcome you all today. I'd like to introduce our main boss. I forget your title, Alfred, but Alfred, if you would like to come on and start our welcome, that would be great. Assistant Vice Provost, Alfred.
Got it. You want to share the screen, please? Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us or rejoining us. We're happy to see you here. It's a new day. It was a beautiful day yesterday. We had a great day filled with love, power, passion, community, and everything that comes with that. So we are excited for day 2. We have equally as powerful a day today with some amazing speakers. And again, our goal here is just to provide you with the opportunity to learn from and to share experiences and stories and narratives about the experience of being a university student. And our main goal is to really help those of you who are interested in moving on to higher education with that process. So we have a great day today filled with lots of information for you. Next slide. So for those of you who were not here yesterday, my name is Alfred Herrera. I'm the Assistant Vice Provost over, and I direct CCCP. And this is one of our webinars. We've done about 11 of them this summer, and this is our program focused on Native American and Pacific Islander communities. And so I want to acknowledge that yesterday we were blessed with, we were honored with having a blessing from Taone, and he is the father of Asena Filaia Taone, who is was one of the people with the early start, who was here at the beginning of NPI in 2013. So Sena and I built the program with support and help from lots of different people. But her father, on the very first program, her father started blessing us and has done so every year. And we were honored yesterday to have him do that again for us yesterday. along with a blessing by Donnie Salcedo, who is on here and will be introduced shortly. Next slide. So today, yesterday's session, as a recap, we had Commissioner Lydia Fatia talking about her journey and her experience. We had some powerful presence of student panelists, both community college and university. And then we had a family from the res to UCLA and back about how important the family is, that you all know that, and lots of great discussions and comments. Today's 3 sessions, next slide, is going to be focused on community and cultural wealth, social justice, and you'll be introduced to the speaker in a moment. We also have, during the intersession, we'll have office hours for those of you who'd want to chat with one of our peer mentors to talk about the transfer experience, get some information and some tips. You'll be able to do so. And then we're ending the day with a very powerful and motivational speaker, Sefaina, who has been affiliated with UCLA for a long time, but is now working in Pomona, and we'll introduce him. And we'll have a raffle. So it's going to be important just to make sure that you continue to do everything you need to do to support yourself. Next slide. And one other last thing before I have the students introduce themselves is that it is really important for you to make sure that you do the evaluation, because that helps us determine what works, what doesn't work, what you're looking for, how we can better serve you, and will be considered in the next webinars that we do. Our intention is to continue to do some of these along the way throughout this academic year, because it looks like this may be the mode that we're in and the reality. So we will start planning a second one and a third one and whatever, and your input will be very, very valuable. So if in those comments, you could tell us some of the things that you would like to see and hear, that would really be helpful as well. So, there's always someone who is supposed to be in charge, and then there's always those who are in charge. And I'm really happy to have our student staff, well, kind of student staff, a couple of them are graduating and moving on, but I'd love to have them introduce themselves. It really is the heart of the programs that we do. Our peer mentoring program is really the heart of CCP and what makes us run and makes us do so well. And I'm happy to have worked with the 2 of the 3 for a couple of years, and one for a couple as well, I guess. But happy to have worked with all of you in planning this 2-day event. So why don't I introduce Shannon? And first of all, thank you all for the work, and Shannon, it's yours.
Thank you, boss. Thank you, Alfred. And thank you everyone for being here. As Alfred said, my name is Shannon Sayula. Thank you for joining us. I am just one small piece of this webinar, but I'd like to thank the others you see on the screen, all those working behind the scenes, and all of you for joining us. We couldn't have a webinar if you weren't here, so thank you for being here. I'm part Samoan and part Mexican. I transferred from El Camino College and Compton College, and I recently graduated from UCLA. I'm excited to talk to any of you during the office hours. If you want to talk more about your transfer path or just anything, if you're faculty, if you want to know more about our program, please tune in to that in our next session. But thank you all for being here. Ma'i?
Greetings, family. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Fatia Ma'i Folau, currently residing here in NorCal, from Sacramento City College, and I'm majoring history. And just come as you are, really want to edify our lovely, beloved, as I call her, Shining Shannon, and our brother Donnie, because they truly were the underlying force of keeping this webinar coming in fruition. So I say, thank you and love you so much, family. Take it away, Donnie. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donald Salcido. I'm from Fort Yuma Indian Reservation in Winter Haven, California. I'm born and raised in LA. I graduated from Fullerton College in Orange County in 2016, and then just graduated with Shannon at UCLA in American Indian Studies. Currently residing up in beautiful Yurok country in Northern California. And so thank you and welcome to to today's webinar. It's great to see you and it's great to be here with all of you. And I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. We're also going to honor today and this week by acknowledging that this week, this Friday, is California Indian Day. And this meeting is being recorded. So, just so you all know, we are recording this. It's really great to have record of everything that's taking place. This week is California Indian Day. We celebrate tomorrow, and this is something that is really exciting for us California natives. There's a lot of history that goes into California Indian Day, and it was because of gaming and other resources. We were able to have lawyers and fight and push the state to honor us and on a specific day. So we're excited. We're celebrating California Indian Day this week throughout the state. So from Yurok to San Diego, all the way to the Pacific to the desert, we're celebrating. So thank you for being here with us and celebrating with us. Today we have our first session today, and it's very honored to have sitting with me Miss Alice Lincoln Cook. She's Karuk, and she's here with me today. She's the current board chair for the California Indian Basket Weavers Association. She's also works here with me at the Yurok Indian Reservation as the court specialist. She works with families in cultural preservation, working with families that have going through domestic violence, going through a whole array of things, and she provides cultural workshops and cultural knowledge to those families. So her job is really this preserver of culture, and so welcome me, help me by welcoming her to all of to her being here.
Thank you. I've never done a shared screen like this with somebody, so this would be interesting, especially with Squiggy. So again, my name is Alice Lincoln Cook. I'm a Karuk tribal member. Our tribe is based out of Happy Camp, the main office, and I currently reside on the Yurok Reservation. As Squiggy has explained, I do a lot of cultural teachings with youth groups, domestic violence groups, and what other groups we can get in here to help heal or to guide in a good direction here at. We usually do the workshops here at my shop. So that's kind of just a very small summary of what I do. I've been working in Indian education in Oregon and in California for a very long time. I've been making jewelry with my mom for a very long time. And then I started basket weaving about 20 years ago, incorporating that into my jewelry. So I've had some wonderful mentors from all around everywhere, my mom, my grandma, friends and family everywhere, including Squiggy, who's been a mentor.
So for those of you who don't know, I have a tribal name and it's Squiggy. So in case you're wondering, I am Donald in the white world and then Squiggy at home. So just so that gets clear. So we were able to have Alice come on today. You know, every year when we do MPI, we have a really great cultural workshop, and that's what really makes MPI so magnificent is the way that we're able to bring out community and show community cultural wealth. So a lot of you were on the website and on the webinar, you see the link for the community cultural wealth article, and we like to bring articles to life. We like to bring, when we talk about community cultural wealth, or we talk about tribal critical race theory, we like to bring in those specialists, those people in our community that really bring that to wealth, bring that forward. And Alice is one of those people that we have today. So we're very, very excited to talk with her about that. As we talk about like what is community cultural wealth, just to give that rundown, it's the wealth that we already come into the university with. You know, a lot of times, especially being at UCLA, we would see legacy Bruins come in. So their parents were Bruins and their parents before them are Bruins. And community cultural wealth really just shows that lens of, we have that community cultural wealth as well, of generations passed on to us, of more and more of our wealth. So we're going to get into what is considered community cultural wealth, how Alice cultivates that wealth, and how she propagates it and passes it through others. So said, me and Alice, we met while we both were in the board, the California Indian Basket Weavers, and we got to meet each other. So it was really, our love for the Dodgers, and so when we met and started to talk about the things that we do, we started to talk about the work I do at the university in research, looking at baskets. And then we talked about the knowledge that she has, this community knowledge that she has about baskets, and how to gather and how to pick materials and moving forward. So can you tell us about some of the gathering practices you use that when gathering baskets and looking for material? What types of what do you have to look for when we go out to look for materials?
Okay, so one of the most important things with basket weaving, and this is something that we hand down generations that's really important to us, is the place that we need to be in while either basket weaving or gathering or making baskets. You know, we have to be in a good place. We have to feel good. We have to, there's not something that we're stressed about or something that is going on, because when we pick and when we weave, that's what we put into our basket, is the feelings that we're having. So it is really important to be at a good place when we do pick, gather, and weave. So that's the most important thing that we tell everybody about weaving. Another thing is, you know, when we go out, the most important, really hard for basket weaving, is going out and gathering. So we all have certain times of year that we can gather. We don't get to gather it all at once. We have, you know, we gather like hazel twice a year, willow twice a year. We can gather beargrass material until the end of July. So all of it, we have limited windows to be able to pick these items and then pick enough to be able to produce what we need for the year, and without going out and picking everything. So when we do go out there, we can only go pick out what we need. We can't go out and clear cut, or we have to leave everything for other weavers. There are certain ways that we have to pick and drop materials so that the materials will go back in that place too. So there's so many little things about basket weaving that I could go on forever, probably more than some of Squiggy's friends in the past. But yeah, there's so much that goes into it when people see it. And one of the biggest questions we have is, how long did it take you to weave this basket? And that is such a difficult question, because there's times when we can't basket weave, when we set it down and we're not feeling like we can do the weaving, so we can't weave at that time if that's what we're feeling. So there's all kinds of things that we have to go through with weaving besides picking to produce a basket. And so it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work. It really does.
So one of the questions is, who taught you how to pick these materials?
So I was taught by my grandma. She started picking materials from when we go to the river and swim. So she'd always just go to the willow bushes and she'd pick them. And, we just kind of watched her and talked to her a little bit about it. And then I was taught again by some elder ladies that are basket weavers that are no longer alive. And most recently, a master weaver with the Karuk tribe, Verna Reese. She's kind of taught everything to me again that I didn't pay attention to as a young child. So she's taught me most everything I know now in terms of gathering, picking, and some of the stories that are amazing that go along with it.
So as we're talking about this weaving and talking about how weaving is such a instrumental part, it really helps to think about how right now we talk a lot about cultivation. We talk a lot about sustainability, keeping the planet, keeping our earth sustained, keeping our Mother Earth sustained. And you heard Alice talk a little bit about picking materials and not picking too much or not over picking. And sometimes, you see that in life, like over picking or over doing things in life. How old were you when you started to weave?
When I started to weave, I was about 16 when I first started. But I didn't get really into it until like 15 years ago. And doing a Oregon, so that's where I learned to weave and gather to attend a lot of those things. So that gatherings and learn and go back to gatherings and learn. And even though it was really difficult to go back, when I went back home, it was really hard to figure out how to do what I was taught without your teacher sitting beside you. So that was that problem until I moved to California.
I know that a lot of us are wondering, like, how does weaving play a part in higher ed? How does this really play a part? And that's a big deal with community cultural wealth. It's this social capitalism that we have. It's this capitalism the capital that we have that's from our community. And I know that the way we sit in a classroom or the way we work with materials, as students, a lot of times we work with, that's why I think Zoom is kind of difficult for us as students being on Zoom, is because we need to interact with the materials a lot more, hands-on with the materials. This is, would you say this is how you were raised generationally? It was just how to handle materials. Is that how you learn? By holding materials, by touching materials, filling the baskets, things like that?
Definitely it was. So when trying to teach like over Zoom or something like that, it is quite a bit more difficult to have them, feel the materials and not be there and teach them more about it. But it is a lot more difficult not to be able to touch a basket or to be able to show the exact design or what that design is used and how it was used. So it's a little bit difficult to do nowadays. And, but we got to figure out how it's going to work, because this is what we're going to do for a while.
Right. And so learning how to adapt is pretty common, correct? Like learning how to adapt throughout these resources.
Definitely.
So can we talk about a little bit where I think one of the questions is, what is a spiritual process with weaving? What is your spiritual process? And you don't have to answer it because I know it's your own spirit, but I think something you said is you have to be in a right place and a right maybe you talk about general
Right.
there.
So again, going through where we have to be at a good state of mind when weaving, when picking, when gathering. And because again, whatever we're feeling, we put into our baskets. So if we gift that to somebody, that's what we're gifting, is something that we were going through that is not beneficial to gift to anybody else. As time has gone on within the last 10 years, basket weaving has come around to be more of a healing process, which I think is amazing, because I can recall going through a rough time in my life, and weaving was beneficial for me. And it helped me, but I recall my uncle telling me, don't gift that basket to anybody for what you put into it. So it had to be something that I kept and wasn't giving to anybody. But it is a wonderful way of healing, to be out with weavers, to gather. The feeling is amazing, to be with weavers and sit and weave and listen to stories. It's one of my favorite things.
Awesome. Someone asked, how do you become a master weaver?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I'm nowhere near that. But we have some weavers that can do everything, and I don't think there's a criteria per se, like whether you're a master weaver or not. Like you made like 200 baskets, you become a master weaver. That's not how it works. I'm assuming it works from your teachings, all the baskets that you can do, and what you can teach about everything that you do. So some of the ladies that I know, they don't like to be called master weavers. They like to be just called weavers, because they don't put themselves in that category at all, even though they're phenomenal weavers, and can make any basket. And in my books, I would think they would be master weavers, but that's not how they want to be. That's how they don't want to be recognized that way. They just want to be recognized as weaver.
Alice, also, you also work in a program called Following the Smoke. And traditional burning. With the recent wildfires, can you talk about some of that work?
Yes. So following this was a program that 2009, and the program asking for burn materials become a lot stronger after a burn. So it is, burns are beneficial for us. However, a big burn like this, like any of the fires that have been going around, is harsher on our materials. So when we say following the smoke, it's more like a prescribed burn that we're going out to, and that we go out and harvest and work with, and not a devastating burn that burns it down to the ground. Those, you can still use materials, but they're not as strong. So, prescribed burning, that's where the following the smoke started. And it stopped about after 10 or 15 years. And then when I came on to SIBA, they asked me and another person if I could revitalize it and start it over. And so I reached out to a lot of our basket weavers and talk to them and see how we could restart this, and not make it small and just keep it in fruit country, but to make it big, where other Southern California, Central California are dealing with bigger problems than what we are. We have a strong working relationships with different agencies for following the smoke, like state parks, Caltrans. They're wonderful to us. They help us so that we're not having any problems when we go out in the woods of getting confiscated materials, or that we're getting questioned or being taken out of a spot that is where we've been picking for years. And Southern California Central, they deal with a lot more harsh conditions in terms of trying to get there and pick items that they just can't get to, and they're stopped if they do go in those areas. So we're hoping to promote that program and keep it going everywhere in California, Oregon, Washington, wherever programs are needed for weavers.
Can you talk about how your Indigenous knowledge has helped CAL FIRE, these local agencies, how they seek out your Indigenous knowledge more and more, how they come to you?
Yeah, they've been, most agencies have been wonderful. So they come to us and they listen to the basket weavers, which is really, really important to me, that they're listening what we need, how we need it, and how, um, like basket weavers are per se, like filling out permits. They're like, well, we got all these permits online. I'm like, well, if you took that permit to my grandma and, told her she had to fill this out online, we'd never do it. She'd just, say, forget it. So they accommodate by reaching out to some of these elders and filling out their permits and stuff for them. So, they're accommodating to a lot of our stubbornness, which is pretty common. So, that's just a very minor part of what they do. But they really listen to us and the basket weavers so that they can incorporate programs for us, adapting to everything that we do, which is nice.
Awesome. So I know that there's a lot of questions that are folks are still having. Something that I know that I'm using baskets for is my own research, and I look at baskets as a healing process. Something I did with the help of SIBA and Southern California Reservation is we looked at weaving circles. So groups of weavers that would come together and we would do interviews during those weaving circles and let weavers talk about things like intergenerational trauma, historic trauma, healthy conflict resolution, and any other mental health things that we're going through. I think a lot of times our community has suffered a lot of historic trauma, a lot of we're going through a lot of mental health things that we're trying to deal with, and Western medicine, just seeing a therapist or taking your Xanax isn't always like it isn't always for us. Can you talk about how weaving and cultural practice is a better form of healing for us?
I think it's a better form of healing because that's how we did it a long time ago. We didn't have the medicines. We didn't have what we have now. So we had to have a form of healing. And really, they didn't know. I believe that they didn't know that they were healing with these things that they did. But that's how I really think it works is going back to what we did a long time ago, not knowing it was a healing process, and it was a healing process, and we're finding out all these things now to go back to and reach back to our our back um, things that help us heal like that.
Sometimes these are things that find in the universe, things that lead into the university, the weaknesses of higher education. It was kind of difficult for me to explain to my professors that I was going to look at baskets at UCLA, and that's even to my parents, I think it was difficult to tell them, like, I'm going to research baskets, and they're like, that's so dumb. Like, you're going to UCLA, why would you look at baskets this whole time? And we're able to see, these things really come forward. Alice works with Yurok Tribal Court as well. And can you talk about how you work with the court?
So I work with the court through it's like a wellness domestic violence program. So I do a lot of teachings on going out and gathering materials, and then we process them, clean them, and then we teach them how to weave and make make these baskets or whatever kind of baskets we're making for the class. But it's a really good start, and going, not just coming with all the materials and they make something, but actually going out and gathering all the materials, processing, going through all the steps of what you would do for making a basket. So that that is really, I think it helps them in some way. So we have a lot of youth group young ladies that come in here, and then we have a lot of people that locals that come in, and then a lot of people with the Yurok tribe. So it is, I think it's a really good thing. I'm hoping that when we're teaching these things, that will be something that they turn back onto. Not only will they have that knowledge, but they'll be able to turn to it if they need, they can make money on it, which is helpful for them if they're going through school. This is something that they can use and continue with their education while they're at school too. So, when I tell people after they get done making something, I'm like, you could sell this for that. They're like, what? So they think it's, when they find out the prices and things, it's important. It's really important. I think it is.
How do you encourage youth to get involved in cultural practice?
So youth is really hard. So, a lot at here at the Yurok tribe, the good thing is their culture is really strong. Their dances, we have a lot of kids that are really culturally strong that come to some of our classes. And then we have some of them who's not participated in anything like that before. So we have a huge variety of people that come to the class. So taking them out when we go out and gather, we'll also take them out to the dance grounds. A lot of times I'll bring in different instructors to the class that I feel are going to be beneficial for the kids to see where this person started, where this person ended, and see what these kids can do. So I bring in a lot of presenters that have struggled in the very beginning and then have become very successful and doing what they do in the community at that point. So a lot of the kids too will encourage them to make the stuff, and then we have small selling events for them to be able to sell and see what that's about. So we give them as much opportunities as we can, and I think we basically, like I was forced to be when I was a kid, force them to do it to realize how that it is something they can do and that they're good at and they can use it and utilize it that way.
Awesome. One of the other questions that we have is, how do you preserve the art of basket weaving from colonization modes? So like, yeah, go for it.
Can we skip that question?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's really hard. That is a really difficult question, because there are things that are really important to us that we wouldn't want everybody to know, and they're really important, but everybody that we're teaching to needs to know it as well. So it's a really fine line that you cross, and you just have to cross it with a comfort level that everybody's okay with it when you're going into a group of teaching or whatever you're doing. But it's a really sensitive. What I do is I go back to my teachers, and I go back to my elders, and I say, what do I do here? Are, you know, am I doing the right thing? That's what I do, guidance.
With our elders, or we ask our elders a question, is we never get the answer that we ask our elders. I don't know if you ever asked your elders or your grandparents a question and they tell you a story and it's never the direct answer. That's a lot of the times that's what happens with weaving. I know when I started weaving, I wasn't allowed to go to, I wasn't, invited to go pick materials because there were the weavers' material spots. It's a place where they had those materials. They didn't want to let everybody go in. So a trust had to be built between you and your teacher. And then you guys went out together and did that work. And, it works the same in the university or in education. The trust has to be built between you and your professor to get those questions answered for your research, to get them to come in. When you get to a research place like UCLA or any other institution, getting that professor to link up with you in your research and saying, yeah, I want to be your advisor. I want to take you where I want to take you academically. You know, there's programs that some of us are in, like McNair and other programs, where you're getting those advisors and you're getting those people that are going to lead you. And, you know, it's really similar. You learn, you know, we learn all this at home. We don't know that we come into UCLA with all these skills. I didn't know that I came into the UCLA with all these gathering skills, these survival skills. Me and Shannon worked really closely together, and I think that me and her had a lot of those survival skills and had to figure it out. And Alfred talked about it yesterday. We all laugh about it, you know. But you know, Alfred and Claudia oftentimes were like our parents, you know. So you know, I would go and ask Claudia and like try to butter her up this way, and then hopefully we would send Shannon to ask Alfred this way, and then we would figure out how to talk to Blanca about it, so that way if they're ever talking about it, then she could bring it up. And so then that's how it works, right? You know, it's like cultivating your parents, or it's just getting them all in line and getting everybody to do what you needed to do or what you thought. And so, you know, this is what it is to, you know, it's the same relations that you have between a weaver and the student and the master weaver, and between the materials and you, and between your education and you. You know, I use basket materials the same way I would use a book. You know, I dissect it, I look at it, I tear it apart, I break down that work, all that work, we tear it all apart, we break it all down, you know, to see, you know, how I could ingest this knowledge, how I can make something of it. Shannon asked, what advice would you give those who want to become leaders in their community like yourself? Oh shit.
I usually punch Squiggy about now, but I'm holding back. I'll wait till it's over and then I'm gonna punch him. So anyways, you know, this isn't something that I planned, or I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I ended up with extra kids from my sisters, and we took on a lot of kids, which led me to a direction where I had to be better and be stronger for my kids, my nieces, my nephews, and show leadership and be there for them and guide them in that direction. And that's basically what started it, was my family. Don't get me wrong, I'm very, very strong personality, so that helped. but I really didn't. I worked a lot with Indian education and the schools when I was in Oregon, and then when I came here, I had the opportunity to do the same thing, as well as start and getting more involved with youth groups and more involved with kids. And as time has gone on, that's something I definitely want to. I'm just, the last couple of days, I've been thinking about how we're going to figure out and work better with our youth. What I have to do, or what Squiggy has to help me do to work better with our youth groups, and to get better results, to be better mentors to, you know, I feel we really need to reach out. So I don't really have a answer for that.
You know, for those of you that have been with us for a couple of years, you see a lot of parallels with the Natu workshops and with basket weaving. You know, the way our culture comes together, and we work at home, how we work at home in culture and community, how we work in cultural practice, and how we, you know, we take that as Pacific Island, as Native American students into the classroom and into the world. You know, it really matters, and it really is effective. And we see that with Taione and their family, Asena's family. And so if there's any more questions, if there's any questions that any of you have, feel free to ask, put them in the chat. because, you know, we're here to answer a lot of questions and get more done, more questions asked and things like that. Which, Alice is a great wealth of knowledge sometimes. So, but yeah, she tricked me. She told me to come up here to work, and I did. And you know, we worked well together on SIBA, and I knew we'd work well together up here, working for the community. For both of us, we're visitors to this community. Her being Karuk and me being from Kachan. And so sometimes that's what it is too, you know, visiting other communities and being there for other communities, because you want somebody to be there for your community later. So, you know, that's that reciprocity that continues to do work. So is there any more questions? Where is Karuk located?
So our main Karuk office is located in Happy Camp, California. And so that is, there's a couple different offices. There's one in Yreka as well, and housing in Yreka and everything, and dental office and Indian Health Services. That's based out of Yreka, and then you'll have to go inland in the mountains to Happy Camp. And it's about an hour and a half off of I-5 or 2.5 hours off of 101 in the mountains. So it's a beautiful location, but you know, that's where our main office is held, is Happy Camp, California.
And let's see what else. It's one of the largest tribes in California?
Yeah, the Yurok tribe is the largest. I thought Yurok tribe was the largest tribe in California. Just members. So.
I think Yurok is largest by membership, and then Kachan is largest by land.
Right. Correct.
So
we're not too far behind that.
Yeah. So they recently just had some fires up there, and your family. Which fire was that your family survived? What year?
So we have a couple fires that are involving a couple different members. So the Slater fire was based around Happy Camp, and it took around 160 homes at a Happy Camp. And to be honest, if you drove through the town, you wouldn't think there was 160 homes, but it did wipe out a small area there, and took one of one of my mentors, her house, it was burnt down and everything in it. And it was pretty scary. So my family lives, another part of my family lives in Fort Salmon, and they had the red salmon fire, and it's still active at this point. So we went back there and helped clean the property. And even though you can't tell, Squeaky, we went back, cleaned the property, and did everything to protect it a little bit more from the fire. So we've been actively working out there for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, both of them have played a huge role in family and in, you know, with the Karuk tribe.
So I think they're asking for if you have any baskets or jewelry to show. Alice also is a famous, renowned jewelry maker. Her jewelry is really beautiful, and so we'll ask her to show some of those pieces in a second. One another question is, how does the community affected after the fires? How is it? Oh yeah, sorry, your typo. How is it affected after the fires?
So here at the Yurok tribe, they're doing a lot of donations and stuff to fires everywhere. Happy Camp with the Karuk tribe and the people that have had houses burned down and stuff like that, they've had a rough time too, because there's a lot of things that we've been trying to do to prevent these fires. Even like the cultural burns, those are small harvesting areas that you can go out and you can burn, and it takes away all these big brushing materials or this big covered area, and we just don't have those. We've got too many restrictions, so we don't have them as often as we could have them or should have them. And so that's kind of what Happy Camp is facing, is a dilemma of what they have to do to prevent this from happening again in this area. So it's quite scary, and it really scared a lot of the members, and now we have to figure out what our next steps are and what we can do to make that not happen again. Greet Majority?
Yeah.
Or baskets?
Baskets, both.
Okay.
So she's gonna go get some of her items. So we're actually located right now at Ellis's shop in Klamath, which is trying to think. It's on the Yurok reservation. She has a jewelry shop. It's jewelry shop, coffee shop, and bookstore. You can see all the books behind me. So they host cultural workshops in here. So last night, they had a basket weaving workshop where they're making medallions. They've had workshops every night. The night before, a couple of nights before, they were making another type of basket, and then making doll dresses for dolls using different materials. So it's really great up here to see so much community and so much culture that's being a part of it up here. So I think I'm hosting a couple of workshops up here in a couple of weeks. So we're gonna do some beaded items, making floral arrangements with some beadwork. So we're excited for that. Just taking, these cultural practices and applying them just to education, just like our Natu workshops, Alice is, her background is really diverse. It's botany. She has to know plants, she has to know materials, when to harvest materials, when to gather, how to gather, what seeds to leave behind. We went out on a hike, and I was like, is this rose buds? And then she was like, no, that's poison ivy. So just understanding like what's poisonous, what's not poisonous. Also, we went out blackberry picking, and I didn't know that you're not supposed to lick your fingers as you're picking blackberries because they're so good. And then she was like, you're slobbering in all the blackberry juice. So I had to learn all of that stuff. One of the questions is a really great question, and it says, can non-Native folks take part in learning processes of basket weaving and joining workshops? And I think that's a really big, it depends on the weavers, but as far as CEBA, California Basket Weavers, it's really great to have non-Indian alliances as a part of basket weaving, because then so many of our non-Indian folks, there's more, of course, because of colonization, and people still come. There's more non-Indians than Indians left, and so we really need that partnership, those community partnerships. And then they're able to learn correctly, like, oh, I made this basket and this is how I gather material. And, they're able to tell their friends like, oh, this is the materials that are out there, or this is why burning is so important.
Right. I totally agree with you on that. And that is a really sensitive subject, and I agree with Squiggy that it should go by your weaver, because again, that question came to me, and the way I answered the question was according to when I went back to my elders, when I went back to my mentors and said, this is, they're the ones that taught me everything about basket weaving. They should be the ones to answer those questions as well. And they were okay with it. And one of the reasons they brought it up, which I thought was really important, is we work with these agencies for help, for permits, for going out in these areas. Restrict things that people can't, but we can get to, and they can. But then we're like, but you're non-native, so you can't learn this. So it doesn't seem right to restrict that. But again, that is according to each weaver and what they decide on how they want to work it. I would hate to. I'm not speaking for all weavers. I'm just speaking for myself as to how I was given permission to be able to do that. So. I think it's important a lot with we have 4 or 5 agencies we work with for following the smoke. And I think it's important that they know when we go out, where we go out, how we pick it, how we use it, and how we process it. And that will help them understand the needs that we have. So I think it's really important to have those opportunities for non-natives for that very reason.
So right now, Alice is going to show us one of the dolls that, what is it? You want to go and explain your doll?
So it is a doll, and what it is just a very miniature version of our regalia and what we use in our dances. So I can explain a little bit of it before I show it to you. So typically we dance at night. We dance as soon as the sun goes down. So a lot of our materials, we can't use dyes on it. We have to use natural dyes so that they don't bleed during the ceremonies onto leather or anything like that. So everything that we use, like in all our baskets and all of our regalia, is traditional. Something that we would, a perfect example is the red in our baskets is alder bark. And we soak it and turn it to that color to get a red in our basket. And that will never ever bleed. It will stay the same regardless of how much moisture you put on it. So there's all kinds of restrictions, again, as to what you can wear, how you wear it, and what you do with it and what you can and can't wear in certain dances. So we have several different dances and we dance for several different reasons. So I'm going to show you one of our basket caps and then a burden basket that the doll holds. And it's pretty typical as to what we would use in our dances. So I'm going to have Squiggy turn the camera around. I'm going to make use of Squiggy while we're here. So this right here is the cap. So the cap consists of willow root, beargrass. Maidenhair is the red. I'm not sure how well you can see it. I mean, not maidenhair, but what did I just say this? Woodwardia fern. So, and that's the one cooked with the alder bark to get that red color. So that's typical of our cap that we dance with. They're way better than this. The caps are amazing to see. There's so many with so many designs. Some family have their own designs, and but most of the designs are utilized throughout the tribes within our area. So if I turn her around a little bit, you'll see she's carrying a burden basket. And again, it's a very small miniature version, and that one is done usually with hazel sticks. But this one's done with willow. So, and it's done with willow root for a miniature version of it. Typically, we would carry it just like she's wearing it. We'd have something like a headband of the sort that this comes around and is on our head. And then when we're picking materials, or even some of the pictures indicate that they would gather wood and we're putting it in their basket and carrying it. So it is amazing little item, and there are some wonderful weavers that have made phenomenal birding baskets as well as caps. A typical part in the front is you'll see the abalone, the pine nut, and the dentillium. So there's a certain way that we layer our necklace when we go out and dance, and that's according, it runs on each tribe. So each tribe has something different in how they do things. So there's there's all sorts of traditions that we have to follow, and colors that we can't use and stuff like that. So there is restrictions on our dances and what we can and can't do. So if you look, I'm gonna lift it up a little bit if you can see it a little bit better. So that there's an inner skirt and then there's an outer skirt to it. So this is the inner skirt, which consists of abalone, bear grass, and then pine nuts on the bottom. And then it's kind of layered in the back with a bunch of abalone pieces. And then the outer skirt has an abalone and then designs that we have made with our bottom pieces. So one of my favorite things about dances is when the dances start and it's completely dark, you can hear nothing but the abalone shells hitting. And that's when our dancers are coming in, and that's our, you know, that's part of our medicine is our music from our abalone. So we had a class on this, and we're eventually with their class we're going to do a full regalia, but we wanted to do a doll to see what everybody was capable of, and we wanted them to find out what their own tribe did and incorporate what their own tribe did with it as well. So we just kind of mixed it up. So the baskets I'm going to show are not anything that I've done, but they're phenomenal baskets by friends and family that I have. So this one is one of my favorites. It is just a basket that is kind of a show basket because it's not utilized in any way. Obviously, you can't put food in it because it has the holes and everything in it. It is made of spruce root, which is down here. And normally a spruce root basket is a cooking basket because when spruce root is soaked with water, it swells, so it will hold like acorn soup. It can also hold like hot rocks that you stir around in the acorn soup to get it warm and cook it. So spruce is a really resilient material that we use quite often in some of our baskets. So this particular design is called deer poop. And one of our weavers made it a couple years ago at SIVA. And I hadn't seen the deer poop design in years. And so that's why I bought it. I really, really liked it. And people just don't make it anymore. And so she was like, yeah, I don't know why I made it. I go, I don't know, but I love it. So yeah, that's what I ended up, I got that from her. This one is a really, really very intricate basket. I don't know the history of this basket. I just know when I seen it, I thought it was amazing and what it did. Nor do I know who made it. So a lot of times you can look at some of these baskets and you can tell how they started. Or something that they did within the basket to figure out who the basket maker was. Some of the details might be how they changed the materials as to where they're from. The direction of the design can tell you where they're from. You know, if the arrows are facing up or down, you know, to know whether it's upriver or downriver for designs like that too. So there's so many small details that come into a basket. So I'm going to show you a large baby basket, and this one, if you can see it very well, not how well you can see it. This one's pretty old, so it's about 30 years old, and this one held all my kids. So it had my daughter Shelby, Chelsea, and then my son Emmett. So it had all my kids in it, and it was made by some weavers that were just phenomenal in Karuk country. So I just treasure this one. I think it's one of my favorites. So yeah, because it held my babies. This is just a miniature version of a doll basket. So, I mean, I have a baby basket. So this one's a doll basket. So again, it's very, very miniature. And this is one that we're doing in our classes now. And exciting it's a good start for people that have not made baskets to do a miniature version, see what work it entails and see whether they want to move forward to a baby basket. But I think these things are really super cute. So they're a lot easier than a baby basket. So yeah. So there's one more piece that I have, and it is a very, it doesn't have a lot of color or anything to it. It just has a lot of meaning for me. So this basket is just a flat medallion. So it's basically when we wove here, usually woven more in designs and things like that. This was my sister, she's no longer alive, so that's the reason I treasure it. Normally these designs that happened here, my understanding, and I don't know, again, this is just from my tribe, I don't know that it's with every tribe. When we made these, it took a long time to make them. So normally there's designs and things that go in it. But when they're usually finished off like this, it was to make money. So we finished them really quick because we knew people were coming to buy baskets, and that's how we ended up finishing them like this. It was easier than trying to continue weaving to finish it off. This was just basically a shortcut to sell a basket for what we needed for a family. Those are the baskets. I mean, I have more. I didn't
see all this went through this, and it's, you know, it's that generational learning. It's that that indigenous style of learning that we have. I think as students, as people, as community members, it's just an indigenous way that we learn. You know, and we could take that into the classroom. You know, that follows us all the way. The streamers also come from. If you were on yesterday, their community is a strong basket weaving community up in Los Coyotes, and so we're just seeing this all throughout the region, you know, of California natives, and even within Pacific communities, Pacific Island communities, we see the how our culture really carries us, you know, and it carries us into the university, and it carries us into higher ed all the way. Just seeing the miniature basket and the process and the reason for it. You're seeing what fits, what your technique is, what your style is, before you move on to that bigger basket. And it's a lot of times it's like community college, you know what I mean? We're in community college trying to figure it out, you know what I mean? Trying to figure it out. I missed when I got to UCLA, my community college, because it was where I was figuring it out, you know, figuring out my technique, figuring out my studied habits, figuring out what worked, what didn't work, and then taking it when we got into university, into 4-year, really having it grow, and then moving, I think, academically into my master's, and as Alice is moving into her master's as a master weaver, we're both moving together, you know, finishing our undergrads basically together and moving into that master weaver, master student stage. And before long, you know, Alice doesn't say she's master weaver, but she's a master weaver, and, you know, she's probably moving to that doctoral stage, you know, of work, you know, being able to say, I remember we went to the American Indian Studies Library, and there was a weaving book, a basket book in the library, and Alice opened the book and said, this basket was not made by this person. There's a correction in this book that needs to happen. There's a correction in this book that needs to happen. This is this person's basket. It's unlabeled. And for the librarian that was there at the American Indian Studies Library, she was just floored, and she just started grabbing all the basket books for Alice and saying, tell me more about who did these, who, you know, where basket is from and where this is from, you know. And that's our place in the university, is a place of, you know, we bring in that. You have a lot of students that are studying, you know, anthropology and studying all these spaces, and we have these anthropologists in our community that sit with us, that run a coffee shop, in a bookstore. You know.
Yeah, and let me tell you what Squiggy said when we left there. He's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, I didn't know who she was. I was like, who the hell are you? Like, you know, you're so mean half the time. I would never know. You're like, you have all this knowledge, you know, she holds so much knowledge. And so many of our elders and our aunties, people around us hold that much knowledge, you know, and it's cultivating that knowledge and bringing it with us into the university, bringing it in to those spaces. So thank you so much. Is there any more questions? I know that, Shannon, do you have some questions you would like to ask? You can jump in and ask. Yeah, right on the spot.
I just want to say first, thank you, Alice, so much for joining us and for giving us that that inside look to how you are personally, as our title says, cultivating this cultural knowledge. And thank you, Donnie, for kind of connecting it back to education. It really is so clear now, I guess, sometimes to me. You constantly remind me, Donnie, of how we are already given the tools. And I don't know, it's just amazing to hear from someone else, I guess, from Alice, and seeing her do the work. So thank you for that. But as far as questions, I don't really have any right now. I want to reach out to our audience if they have anything. And actually, Alfred has asked me to ask Dr. Ambo if she would like to say something. Dr. Teresa Ambo has joined us. Teresa was one of the other founding women and scholars of our NPI program. And she is now a professor at UC San Diego. Teresa, would you like to jump on and say hello and maybe give us your input on community cultural wealth?
Oh, I'm always muted. Hi, everybody. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Squiggy. Hi, Alice. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for your talk and presentation. I always learn so much from you all. And it's so great to see everybody here on Zoom. I hope you all are doing well and enduring the pandemic as best you can where you are. Like Shannon said, I'm an assistant professor at UC San Diego now, but hi, Alfred. But I started at UCLA in 2002 as an undergraduate. I didn't take the transfer route. My partner did. I had the privilege of being someone who came in straight as a freshman to UCLA. But I struggled quite a bit and had a lot of challenges, and which is one of the reasons why I'm now in the field of education. And so I think it's really inspiring and wonderful to see all of you on here, continuing to find support and gain knowledge from everybody that has been speaking. And I mean, there's so much to say about community cultural wealth and advice to give you all. And so I would just say the cultural knowledge and wealth that you all have, that you get from your families and from your communities, it far exceeds that of a PhD. And I don't think that the institution really ever values it or acknowledges it. And so I would really encourage you all to very boldly and bravely and unapologetically bring who you are into the institution and challenge those spaces and challenge those people, because they might have letters on a piece of paper. I mean, I do too, but we don't know shit. We just jump through a bunch of hoops to get to where we are. And if we all had the same privileges as all these other professors, we'd be world renowned. We'd be in the same positions that they are. But higher education isn't a system that was necessarily made for us. There are a lot of barriers that are put in place for us. And so I think that like with MPI, we do our best to carve out spaces for each other so that you could enter into the academy as the person that you are. And so the linguistic, cultural, spiritual, navigational knowledge that you can bring into the academy is not like anybody else. You are your own person, you are unique. And so come into the institution and just really be who you are and bring all that with you. And don't be afraid to mess stuff up. So nice to see you all. That's all I have.
Dr. Ambo, do you have your yucca sandals you made that you weaved nearby? I was just talking to Alice about them.
Yeah, she just don't want to show them.
As she looks,
I mean,
at her feet.
They're
Oh,
upstairs.
right
I do have them. They're upstairs though.
They're upstairs.
I'm sure it won't take you long to get them and come back and show us, though.
Yeah, if someone, don't wait for me, someone else can talk. I'll go get them.
Okay. Alfred?
I just wanted to see one of her. You showed a piece of her jewelry that I thought was absolutely beautiful with the shells. So I wanted everyone to see that. The one that's hanging on that, on the thing. I think it's shells and crystals.
You know what? I should have not left him there alone. I don't know what he did.
He showed us your beauty.
Yeah, well, that's not normally who Squiggy is. I'm so confused.
Exactly. It's because I made him show it to us.
Well, good. That's good. Yeah. So I didn't bring any of that stuff out. So I do a lot of modern jewelry, and I have incorporated a lot of the basque weaving in it. Usually a lot of the stuff that have a lot of the basque, like the medallions or the medicine baskets, those we just can't keep. They sell so quickly. So.
Yeah.
So this one is this one you showed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is, again, it's very modern because it goes with the colors per se. It's very bright. It's gold with mother pearl. Again, these arrows that go in this direction that point upriver, the way it's laid, pointed upriver, that's what it means in our tribe. So our name of Karuk means upriver, and Yurok means downriver. So that's the meaning of both the words. So in my jewelry, even though I'm in Yurok country, my arrows point up, and I have some people that come in and say, is there any way you can turn that around? I'm like, no. So this you know,
Very plain, no.
that's how. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with Squiggy so well. Dentillium. In our language, we call it ishkuk, which means money. So this was our trading material for a lot of the local natives in these areas. And then around it, that's wrapped around, is bear grass. So that's a braided material, a braided bear grass that's wrapped on there. So yeah, and then the earrings to match. So
It's beautiful.
Modern piece, not near as traditional. The next one I'll show you is more traditional, and it is not my work, it's my mom's. So when I started out, I was taught by my mom. I was forced to be by my mom. So, but it's turned out to be a great thing. So hers is, it's a very natural piece of abalone on the bottom. And then she has the pine nuts, dentillium, and then just follows up in the designs. She pays no attention to her direction of her of arrows and which way it goes. So, you know, mom and I have totally different styles, and I love and appreciate her work and dad's work that they do. So it's an amazing piece as well. So just shows a lot of the natural colors of the abalone. You should get that one that's in the shelf, the Kokapelli. Okay. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful piece, and like I said, hers is very traditional. It's usually not with these sparkly colors. It's usually red, black, and browns. And she'll bring me a bunch of jewelry, and I'm like, oh, I'll have that one. And she's like, you can't have it. And a lot of time, my dad does the carving of the abalone. So then I'll call my dad and say, hey, can I have that? And he's like, yeah. And mom gets, you know, so she's not very happy.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, some way, shape, or form, I have to override mom and see whether I can just get it from dad. But one of the pieces that are some of my favorites for that my mom and dad do, and this one's more traditional in the color and what it does. So my dad carved this Kokapelli, so it's the abalone piece that's carved in there. And the other side is gorgeous because it has the red of the abalone, which is my favorite. And then it has the black pine nuts. You've seen them where they were brown in the last video, but these ones are black. So in order to get that color, we actually had to cook them in oil and burn them. And I'm not much of a cook, but I can cook these pine nuts. So that's all I can do. And then it has our dentillium, pine nuts and dentillium. So this is more of a traditional type of necklace with the abalone piece on the bottom. So yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Beautiful.
So yeah,
those are all for sale, people, if you want to buy them. I'm just kidding.
Told you I wasn't doing no internet thing, and here I am.
Well, Gotta
I'll
break
send you
out.
I'll send you an email later.
And Dr. Ambo's back. Are you?
She's got her shoes.
Yeah, they were on my shoe rack. So so I made these sandals. My right foot is bigger than my left, so they're different sizes. No, I'm just kidding. And so I made I made these in a 1-week workshop at the Saquon Cultural Center. My teacher was Stan Rodriguez, who's Kumeyaay from Santa Isabel. And the sandals were, well, we wear sandals here in Southern California. Alice, do you all wear sandals up north?
No.
No. So
Barefoot.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
barefoot.
barefoot. Yeah, it scares
From the
Squeaky to
mountains
death.
too.
It's like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so here we traveled here we traveled between each other's villages, and we have a running culture in Southern California that extends into the Southwest. And so runners and travelers needed footwear to protect their feet from traveling long distances. And so we used what was possible or what was available, similar to baskets, to make footwear. And so sandals was the most common that were used, moving more so in the desert area, because you don't need sandals all that much on the beach. And so these are made from yucca. So if you travel on the highway, say the 5, and you're closer to Southern California, you might see these like really spiky plants with long white candlestick looking flowers at the top. And so that's one type of yucca. And so these were one day a plant, like Monday it was a plant. And then like by Friday they were on our feet for this workshop, which is pretty remarkable when you think about like the ability to process a plant down to like these really, really fine fibers to make a footwear. So there's different techniques that are used in making the yucca sandals. And so one of them is just the wrapping. You break down the yucca to make the shoe. And then the other one is to make cordage or rope. And the rope is used here on the shoes, but it's used in a lot of other ways. They used to make really thin earrings out of them. They're used, yucca is used in fishing and other things, but to make nets, to make straps for baskets to wear on the head, to make baby baskets. Some communities down here use yucca to weave baskets, or kind of like a net to hold a baby. And so these are the sandals that I made with Stan Rodriguez and another elder in my community, Craig Torres. He actually helped me, and we both made sandals together. And so those are mine.
So do you, how do you wear them? Can you show us? Because they look, I mean, it's like, I'm not sure if they go on top or if your foot goes completely inside, or if that's the bottom and the strings are the
Yeah, I haven't had a pedicure, so I won't show you it on my feet. But it's kind of like a regular flip flop. Your feet would go like,
got it.
your toes would go in here.
Okay.
However you're more comfortable, and then these wrap around your ankle and
Okay.
fasten to the back. And then for, it's not comfortable, and so you kind of rope them around and tie them behind your heels.
Got it.
So, and everyone does them differently, but that is how we were taught how to do them. So you just kind of wrap them around what your foot would be, and it goes in like a chancla.
And I'm sure you wear them to go to the shopping and stuff, right?
No, I don't, but I did wear them for a conference once. They asked everyone, the conference every year happens when they have this event called Rock Your Mocks. And we were telling, the people how it was so biased because we don't wear moccasins, we wear sandals, or we go barefoot. And so somebody went barefoot in the photograph, and then I already had anticipated the Rock Your Mocks. So I wore them briefly for a photograph and a little bit of the session so that people could see sandals, and that we are not all Indians are the same, from the tip of California to the bottom and across the whole country. We're all very different, and we have different, there's different resources, plants in our community that really determine like how we lived our life, but also like what our clothing looked like. So
Those are great.
so no, I didn't. I don't wear them to the market. You're not comfortable. I wear my rainbows.
I think
Thank you for letting me and asking me to share.
thank you so much, Dr. Ambo, for jumping on. It's great seeing you. We can't wait to see you in November. Um, and for all of our guests that have been with us this session, we thank you so much. Thank you again to Dr. Alice Lincoln Cook, basket specialist, fire specialist. Not a great cook, but her daughter's in the back
it's true.
laughing.
I'm not going to deny that. I hate cooking. So
But everything
my
else is
husband is
great.
phenomenal, right? He's a wonderful
Yes.
cook. So yes, thank gosh. My kids are all like, "Who's cooking, Dad or Mom?" So, yeah.
So, but thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this today. Just phenomenal work, and it just really helps us to know like we could take this into the university, take this into higher ed. I know that I'm always thankful for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I've enjoyed it. I didn't think it was going to be as great because Quiggy was with me. So yeah, turns out it turned out really nice. You guys are wonderful people, and we had some wonderful questions. And I hope I filled in some gaps that people weren't understanding. And so that's all I'm after when I do a lot of these calls and stuff, is to help people understand a little bit more. But thank you.
And again, we're sorry, she does not have a webpage for jewelry. But we'll let you know if she's in a gathering or something in Southern California post-COVID. So, oh, there is a Facebook page on, we'll have that posted, the Klamath Book Nook.
Yeah, Klamath River Book Nook.
Klamath River Book
Except I
Nook.
don't put any jewelry on there, it just shows our books in our coffee shop. There's
But you could probably hit
couple
them up
pieces.
for jewelry, and she'll send you an
Yeah.
email back and whatnot.
Yeah, my daughter manages, so she'll do a better job than I do. That's good.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, Alice, Donnie, Teresa, Alfred, and everybody for engaging in our session. Alfred, would you like to say anything before we close this session?
I just want to say thank you again to Alice. I think this has been a highlight. It is one of the things that I think makes NPI and this webinar unique, is the cultural component. It's always a piece of it. And when we're in person, we have the Natu demonstration. And last year we had a basket weaver. So it's always great to infuse that. And Donnie, I want to commend you for the way that you weaved in, weaved, and I didn't mean that, but the way that you weaved in the educational piece to the basket piece, and how you integrated the two. That was really brilliant. So thank you for that. Thank you for setting this up. It has been an awesome time. I hope to, at some point, get up there to visit. And I think the furthest is Eureka in terms of staying in there. I have the friends in the Wiyot and the Hupa Nation. But I'd love to come up and see this great bookstore that you have, and visit Donnie, maybe. Anyway, it's just a thank you to you. Teresa, I am excited that you were able to join us. We talked about you yesterday and your contribution. So again, thank you for everything that you've done for our programs and will continue to do. But yeah, it's great to have you here. Thank you everybody for being here. We have, make sure that you do the evaluation. As I said, our plans are to continue doing a few of these throughout the year. And so your input would be valuable in terms of helping us decide where we need to go next, what you're looking for, how we can help continue to assist you. We have our next session is going to be our drop-in hours with our incredibly knowledgeable peer mentors who are going to kind of talk to you about the journey and answer questions you have. We will be putting you, if you're going to stay on at some, with about 10 minutes after we end, we'll start putting you into rooms. And some of you, if you want to stay in the main room, let us know. I will, and a few other people will be in the main room to just chat and ask questions. You can sign off if you'd like and come back at 2 o'clock. We have an amazing speaker at 2 o'clock. And yeah, we're just here to hang out. So really thank you again to everybody for being here.
Yeah, so the recording has stopped. Thank you, everyone. As Alfred said, please stay logged in if you'd like to chat with us, or if you just want to hear what we're babbling about, that's fine as well. Thank you for joining in, and we will see you soon. We'll talk in.
Could you make me host just so I can stop the recording, please? And yes, please take advantage of talking to a peer mentor, because you know, we're a little older, Alfred and I, and the staff, just a little bit older, not that much older, right? Just a bit. And these folks are very close to the experience of having attended, transferring and attending. So getting that insight, getting, being able to pick their brains, and the fact that, they're going to tell it to you like it is. That's priceless. That's invaluable. So I would highly encourage you that if you can stick around to speak with one of the peer mentors, is going to be some valuable information you're going to gain. So that was it.